Now I'd like to introduce today's webinar, a City Builder Book Club event co-hosted with the Center for City Ecology. Parks to Farms, Urban Migration and Community Development in Tower Hamlets and Thorncliffe Park. I'm delighted to welcome today's guests who join us virtually from cities on two continents, Canada and the United Kingdom, to learn about neighborhoods like Tower Hamlets and Thorncliffe Park that have become destinations of choice and arrival cities for successive waves of urban migrants. In the next hour, we'll learn about community-led initiatives organized by local residents that are rolling out the welcome mat, reducing barriers to participation, and empowering newcomers to help build a vibrant sense of community. From Toronto, Canada, we have Sabina Ali, Chair of the Thorncliffe Park Women's Committee, and from London, UK, we have Mary Weir, Manager of the Spitalfields City Farm. Let's go to our first speaker. Let me introduce from Toronto, Sabina Ali, who founded the Thorncliffe Park Women's Committee, a local women's collective that has transformed public space into a place for community participation, networking for work, and civic engagement. Sabina is the recipient of the 2014 Jane Jacobs Prize for her work in Thorncliffe Park. So welcome, Sabina. The podium is yours.
Hi, good morning everyone, and I'm Sabina Ali from Thorncliffe Park Women's Committee. Thorncliffe Park is a remarkable neighborhood in the central east Toronto, which is pretty much a diverse, densely populated, multicultural neighborhood. And it is a landing mat for the immigrants from all over the world, and mostly from South Asian countries. And it also includes a little percentage of Filipinos, Latin Americans, Arabs, Africans, Chinese, and Hungarians. And in this 2.2 kilometers area, it is a home for 30,000 people, which was actually designed to accommodate 12,500 people, and now it's a home for over 30,000 people, with 68% of whom are immigrants and 20% of whom are the recent arrivals, and 37 are the low-income families. And the striking is that 91% of this community are the renters, all apartment dwellers with high and low-rise buildings. I think it's 34 high and low-rise buildings in the neighborhood, with 2 co-op buildings and 2 condominiums and 1 TCHC building, which is Toronto Community Housing. And it is a home for the largest elementary school in North America, which accommodates around 2,000 children. And now the new kindergarten school has been started, which is, I think it's the first ever kindergarten elementary school in North America that accommodates over 600 children. And about Thorncliffe Park Women's Committee is a group of women living in Thorncliffe Park, residents, mostly moms, who came together with a common vision of revitalizing or transforming their public place, that is R.V. Burgess Park, which is the only accessible green space in this neighborhood, which is right in the heart of Thorncliffe. So our vision was to transform this public space into a place that builds and enriches the community and the neighborhood, and to animate the green space, that's R.V. Burgess Park, and to bring the people to engage them in this green space, mostly because all these the residents are the immigrants who experience stress and isolation on the public spaces, and it is important for them to come out in a common place where they can meet their neighbors and can break the barriers of the cultures, languages, the natural world, and come together and have fun. So this was our vision. And how do we bring them out? So in the beginning, our work started in 2008, and we invited the children from their crowded apartments to use the park as their backyard by offering Arts in the Park programming each Friday night during the summer months. And we had a great response. Children showed up, and we also invited the community artists, the local community artists, and among the committee members itself, they performed like having a magic show or a science show, storytelling, gathered all the kids in the park, and after each performance or the activity, we encourage the kids to do the cleanup of the park so that they feel the sense of belonging to their park and their community. So this summer was really successful, and we also we wanted the city staff to get involved, we wanted the councillor to get involved, so we invited the councillor, city staff, and gave them the tour of the park, which was not really taken care of. And we had a long wish list, and people, it took a lot of time for the things to come, but the first thing that we got for the park was the garbage bins. So we were able to do the cleanups and put the garbage in the garbage bins. The other programming that we had been really successful was the next year when we came to know about a lot of immigrant women who are operating businesses from home. So we thought, like, why not have a community market in the park, in the public space, to engage people and give these women the opportunity, like a platform to expand their clientele, mostly to bring these women out, to bring these women, immigrant women out of their homes and give them a platform where they can feel more comfortable, can build their self-esteem, build their language skills. And we started with only 5 vendors in the market, and the market has grown up in all these 6 years, and we have over 150 women participating in our market. And the other important programming that we have is the community garden, and most of the immigrants had this farming background from their back home, and we didn't really had any opportunities of gardening as we don't have any backyard in the tall buildings. So we thought a community garden would be a great way of engaging people and bringing them together and sharing their stories and building community in the park. So this is how we we worked with the city staff and we got the space for the garden in the park, and now we have like 24 plots in the garden for the residents, and we have a huge area of children's garden where we do the programming during spring and fall for the children. And we have a great partnership with the Thorncliffe Park Elementary School and also the Fraser Mustard Kindergarten Learning Center. And the children from the school, they come with the teachers and they learn how to grow food, and they have learned that the food that they eat is not bought from the grocery store, but it's actually grown. And this last fall, we had around 60 classes coming in, and I think it's a great relationship with the school, and especially for the children who come closer to the nature by these programming. And the other important one is the ravine walk in the valley. Mostly the residents who are the new immigrants are not accustomed to the forest life, and Thorncliffe is gifted by a beautiful down valley system, and we really encourage people to use those valleys, to use the ravines and explore the nature. And in the for past 6 years, we have been organizing the nature walks in partnership with the Lost Rivers and Toronto Field Naturalists, and bringing the residents into the valley and using the paved and unpaved trails. And last summer, we partnered with the Toronto Regional Conservative Authority and the City of Toronto and developed a youth stewardship program, which was a 5-day long program, and that was really successful with walks in the valley. We do the cleanups in the valley, and we developed a small brochure for the unpaved trail in the valley. And market is one of the largest programming of Thorncliffe Park Women's Committee, and that includes, we have like the vendors who are setting up the market, who sell the clothing and jewelry. We have the food vendors who make food in community kitchen, which is at Jenajan Mari Community Recreation Center, which is the park's property, recreation property, and we have developed that great relationship with the City of Toronto to use the kitchen for the market for free, where the vendors can prepare the food and bring it to the market. And we go through all the permit process, insurance, and meet all the requirements what the city needs to run the market in the park. And this market is run in partnership with Food Share, who delivers the produce, the local produce on the market day, as we encourage healthy eating in the community. And tandoor oven is one element in the market, which is unique. I mean, all the parks had, the pizza ovens, and we thought like tandoor would represent the culture of, as Thorncliffe is predominantly a South Asian community. So we wanted tandoor oven to come to the park so that we can, because it's unique and that represents the South Asian community. And we invite all the people throughout GTA to come and see how tandoor works and learn from us how to make the bread in tandoor oven. And this tandoor oven is the first outdoor oven, I think, in the whole North America in the parks. And the other programming are the night bazaars that we do during the Eid celebrations. And this was something that came up from the community. They wanted us to have the Eid bazaars during the night in the park. It has been so successful. And our community market in Thorncliffe is pretty much seasonal, which runs between May until the end of October. And last year we had been trying this model in Flemington as well, as the need came from the vendors and the residents from the Flemington. And we have started this market in Flemington as well, and we are trying to make this as successful as in Thorncliffe Park. And this market is supporting the micro enterprises in the neighborhood for the economic development of the neighborhood. And we also have developed a vendor incubation program in partnership with different farmers market, like the Evergreen Brickworks. Here, this program is so designed that the women who really wanted to move forward from Thorncliffe Park, who is really serious in starting their businesses. So the Evergreen Brickworks serves as an incubator for them to try out their business, and they get the opportunity there. And we work in partnership with Evergreen Brickworks, and then they get the subsidized to participate in those markets. And right now we have 2 vendors that are at Evergreen Brickworks Saturday market. And the development in RV Burgess started like since 2008 until now. When you look at the park has completely transformed. It is more green, and because of the Friday markets and all, the park has really become a community hub, where we can draw more than 500 people during the Friday night. And we, in the park, we've got, throughout all these years, we have got the new sod, we got the new swings, we got the splash pad renovated. We got the new water fountain, and there was no playground equipment in RV Burgess. That was missing, I think, since 2005. And because the city of Toronto was pulling out all the playground equipment for some safety reasons, and all the parks got the playground equipment back, and except RV Burgess. So we also had run the campaign for this, and with this survey, finding out like when the playground was removed, how the playground looked like, and the city had no answer for that. And but we have been promised the playground equipment hopefully in 2016. So we got the existing playground equipment in RV Burgess is the playground equipment from the neighborhood park, which is a Leaside park that got the new equipment, though the existing was in a very good condition. So we requested the city councillor and the city of Toronto staff to bring in the used playground equipment from the Leaside park to Thorncliffe Park. And so that has been brought, and it is being used by the children in Thorncliffe. And they had the city has added the benches and the picnic tables, garbage and recycle bins, and a bike ride. And last September, we got the new light poles in the parks, and we have also requested the city to put in the power outlet. So hopefully before the summer market starts, we will be getting the power outlet. And the most important and the biggest success is the permanent outdoor thunder event. And about the challenges and the successes, I think partnerships are great, and especially when you have these. Our success always lies in the have been our strong partnerships with the City of Toronto Parks, Forestry and Recreation Department. The Toronto Food Strategy played a vital role in helping us bring Tandoor in Janajamari Community Recreation Center. Food Share Toronto has been our great partner, and Evergreen Brickworks, Summerhill Group, for the variety of programs that we do in the park, and Red Tree Artist Collective, Park People, Bird Rock, and Sea Loss, which is a center for research into local space. They have been providing the advocacy around the parks for us, and Toronto Green Community, Toronto Regional Conservative Authority, Lost Rivers, and the list is endless actually. So I think that we exemplify the power of partnerships to create and maintain the urban parks, and that's the reason we won the 2013 Frontline Park Award by Alliance for Parks, which is US-based, and it was the first time that the park outside US, and it's the first Canadian park that has been selected. I think it's a great honor for us and for all the work that we had been doing. And our work started as volunteer work. For about 2 years, we had been simply volunteering and getting things done, building the community, animating the park in the public space. And after 2 years, we applied for Ontario Trillium Foundation, where we got the grant for about 3 years to do all the programming, like the garden markets, rubbing walks, and nature walks, and the fitness programming for the women. And for 3 years, we have been doing that, though it was a partial funding, but we continued our work throughout the years. And and we are really thankful for TD, Friends of Environment too. And we also run one of the container gardening programs behind one of the private landlords in Thorncliffe. I think it's a very great example and a starting point for a tenant and landlord relationship where the landlord has understood what the contribution for their contribution in building the community, which is the Mogad residential. It's a 35 Thorncliffe Park Drive. So they have given us the space there where we run the container gardening program, and we have 40 boxes. And we started this in partnership with Summer Health Group and Oil Boxes, and the second year, Mogad generously donated us $1,000 to run the program. And it was also supported by United Way Tower Neighborhood Renewal Project. And currently we are being funded by Western Family Foundation, and we are also part of the Metcalf Foundation's the Resilient Neighborhood and Local Economies, where we are working in partnership with Thorncliffe Neighborhood Office. It's more about the community economic development. The lessons, how we started, the lessons we have learned is it brings the like-minded people come together with the same vision without any egos can bring about the change in the community, and people who feel the sense of belonging to the place where they live and have a passion to give back to the community will be able to do this. And I would say that we started very small and have laid a strong foundation, and we have been building on this foundation. And hopefully this year we will be developing a park market model as a park manual, which will be a resource for the other park users. And we will also have our park consultants to provide advocacy around this park model. And our only vision is to make the public spaces more livable. And I think it is really very important for the people to get engaged and build the community in public spaces. And the park model will definitely help us in replicating this kind of model, and we hope that this model is replicated and is acknowledged everywhere throughout the city and maybe the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabina, for that wonderful presentation and for showing us what determined women and community effort can achieve. That was fantastic. Thank you. We've much to learn from your success. So from one arrival city, let's move on to the next. Let's move to Tower Hamlets in London. I'm delighted now to welcome Mary Weir, manager, Spitalfield City Farm, which is home to the Coriander Club, a gardening club that provides a space where local elderly Bangladeshi migrant women, often at risk of social inclusion, can socialize, exercise, grow Bengali vegetables, and promote sustainable living in the inner city. So, Mary, welcome. The podium is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Spitalfield City Farm, we're situated in Tower Hamlets, which is one of the most diverse boroughs in London. And London is a city that's been built on migration and diversity over the years, with Tower Hamlets having a history of different settlements from the French, the Jewish, and now the Bangladeshi. But again, it's moving as well. It's also a city of great big contrasts because it reaches quite a percentage on league tables, but perhaps not the league tables we want to be part of, and that it's the 7th most deprived borough nationally in the government's indices of multiple deprivation. So the inequality is quite stark, with around 18% of households living on less than £15,000 a year. While the average gross earnings of those working in the borough was actually over £78,000. There also is the highest levels of childhood obesity and child poverty, and the second highest unemployment rate in London. There's a disparity, as I was saying, of the wealth in the borough, because if we take into account that Tower Hamlets actually also covers Canary Wharf, which is a great big financial district of London and growing as we speak. So, looking at the London Health Commission have recently published their aspirations for a better health for London, and one of their aims is to get London fitter. And here at the farm, we're a community space that inspires and that everyone can enjoy. We've got a wealth of knowledge and skills and experience, and we've been here for 38 years. In fact, we were started on the land was squatted on, so we've got a lot to be thankful for the squatters for. The farm's a diverse space. It provides a range of different micro-environments and opportunities to try out different variety of growing techniques. And it's really important that we're seen as a community farm as opposed to a city farm. I sometimes would like to change the title to Spitalfields Community Farm. Out of that, in about 12 years ago, Lutfan Hussain was a volunteer who came along to the farm and was really keen and passionate on growing. She started the Coriander Club, and that was a group of ladies, Bangladesh ladies, who are the Bangladesh population, are very big on growing. And she started this Coriander Club, growing traditional Bengali vegetables. She also became a London leader. There was a new initiative that was started by the Mayor of London, and she was one of the first London leaders. And that's where she was saying that she wanted, to create this Spitalfields Green Quarter. She wanted to show what could be happened if we're sharing work with other people, if we're sharing our knowledge, and we can actually demonstrate, and it's very real what we're doing here. And it's to encourage the whole thing about inner city sustainable living. And she's been a wonderful example for that over the years, definitely. The range of activities is also our strength because we have a strong community focus and always have had. And we always really look at what the service users are asking for. We try to do as much as what's being asked of us, which can be quite difficult actually. But the Coriander Club really caught the imagination of everybody because more ladies would come along. They felt safe, which I think is hugely important. They felt safe by coming along to the farm. They were engaging with other Bengali ladies. They got to enjoy the space, and they were able to grow and share the produce. And even now, 12 years later, they're still coming along, they're still sharing the produce, still growing. But it's not, again, been without its challenges as everything else, because the racial issues don't just happen from different nationalities and so on and so forth. Even within the Bengali community, there can be racial issues. And what's been hugely beneficial for us is having Lutfan Hussain on site, actually speaking Bengali as well. She's somebody that everybody really wants to go and speak to and ask questions of, whether it be Bengali, Sylheti, English, French, all nationalities. She's hugely popular. She's done quite a few television shows. She was just recently done a television show with Madhur Jaffrey that was on BBC Two, and our vegetables are her passion. She hand pollinates a lot of the plants. She has to, but she does it with a great passion. And she's a prolific grower, absolutely. And she's also a great cook. We do little cooking workshops as well. And we ask Lutfan wherever possible, along with the ladies, to cook food for the farm. We have other groups as well that come to the farm on the back of the fact that we were doing the Coriander Club. So we had people from Zimbabwean refugees came along and started here and were growing African kale. And then we had some men, Bengali men, which was usually a bit more unheard of, actually coming together and doing gardening in a different place on the farm, but still feeling safe to come in. And young men as well, not necessarily just all, older men. What would happen is we started doing volunteer feasts, where each different group would do a feast once a month that was traditional to them, and they would cook it and share it out amongst everybody else. So there was lots of sharing of recipes, sharing of cooking, tastes, and so on and so forth, and a lot of friendships being made on the back of that as well. So because of that, we had almost our own community within the community in the farm, so they were all coming together. And I think the most important thing really was that we had the space of the farm was crucial. The space of the farm was that everybody could come in here, everybody felt the same, everybody was treated the same, and everybody's voice was listened to, and we tried to accommodate as much as possible. So the idea of starting a community garden, we decided to do that, and we didn't want allotments. We didn't want people having something that they could take a bit too much ownership of, shall we say. So we wanted to really build this sense of belonging. And the idea was that if we have this community garden, which we've now got, which is proving successful, is that people can come along, they can stay for an hour a week, they can stay for an hour a day, 2-3 hours. We do gardening late sessions as well, and they can share the produce. So it's all, sharing is a really big thing, and it's something that actually quite fascinates me, is if we really are sharing as much as we say. But we want to share good practice as well as just the vegetables and food that we cook here. We have put down here about being careful of super reps. You do tend to get a lot of the same people who've been around quite a while and who will make their voices heard. When we first started looking at the community garden, there was a lot of people who came along and a lot of interest shown in it. But once we said that we wanted this to be about sharing, the numbers dramatically dropped. But now we have a core group that come along with people that just drop in as and when, and it's fantastic. And also, any excess produce that we have, where volunteers will get it for free, we sell it to the public as well, and we're just starting up a little farm shop. We're also really keen to try and sell some of our produce to restaurants in the area, and trying to be as local as possible. The site's used by a whole variety of people. We've got our staff team, we've got the volunteers, we've got the different groups using the site, we've got vulnerable adults helping out and volunteering, we've got school groups coming in, to families just popping in for a day out, or to an office worker come along and having their lunch on the farm. And it's just nice that everybody comes in, and the minute they walk in the gates there, that they can feel that sense of peace and safe and enjoy the little sort of bit of green space that's very limited in this part of London as well. I think at the bottom there I've put that to be accepting the fact that nothing ever goes to plan. That's definitely true. Nothing ever does go to plan, and I don't think it should actually, because sometimes we start out with every best plan of what we're going to do, and it changes. It was the same with Coriander Club. It was started with the idea this is going to be a women-only session, which was fine, and which we still try to accommodate, ladies only, but it quickly grew that more and more people and men wanted to become involved in it, and not just Bengali people as well. So we opened it up to a whole host of different people coming in, and that was successful as well. We've not had any problems with that whatsoever, touch wood. Also, we've done a lot of outside gardening work with other estates in the area. There was one of Selby Estate not far from the farm. We have one of our workers, Catherine, goes out and works with them, and that's really brought that community together within that estate, who perhaps weren't necessarily using our farm as much. They had this idea or conception the farm wasn't as clean as it should be, or they felt a bit anxious about coming in. But because we've done that outreach work there, they've now got very, very strong links with us, and some of their children are regular attenders at the farm as well. They've also attended some of their markets and events we've put on by holding little stalls themselves. So it's really important that we're seen to be as accommodating as possible. So, the challenges, yes, there's plenty. But rewards, there's even more. I think working in this sector and being able to listen to people's needs and demands and try and accommodate them is just amazing. It's fantastic. But I think you have to be prepared that things will not always go to plan. And if it doesn't work, I don't think that's a problem either. We can just sit down and talk about it and just see how we can make something work or move on to something else. And I think that's what I'm saying about being open and honest. We don't promise the moon. We don't say that, yes, we're going to start this project and it's going to change the world and it's going to, give you full-time employment, it's going to do this, that, and the next thing. It's, as what Sabina was saying, it's small changes. If you start small and build from there and it's something that works, just keep, plugging away at it, and you definitely begin to see the rewards. Publicising what we do, telling people what we're doing, so a forum like this is really good for that, because sometimes we don't have the time to actually say what it is that we're doing, what we're working on. We get our heads down and we just get on with it and do it without really realising that something quite powerful is happening here. Also, we've got to be, these days with the economy being what it is and the finances, it's a constant battle to keep going. But to say the farm's been here for 38 years, and I'm sure it'll be here for another 38 years, I hope, with similar changes, different population trends, so on and so forth. Again, it's about having all the sort of policies, procedures, health and safety are completely crucial, that you have all of them in place, especially when you're an area that's open to the public to come in at any time and enjoy. I quite like to have sort of put the ingredients for success, because it reminded me an awful lot of when we were looking at things about our cooking that we do, what we grow here. And I think it is about, the most important thing is it's about the friendliness, and that's why it's deep. I said the deep fried friendliness. You've got to give it time. That's got to start small as well. It's got to be willing. You can't force people to come in here. You can say, this is what the farm offers, this is what we do, and word of mouth is the best form of advertising for that, definitely. And also you've got to make sure that you've got all your available literature and available in different languages, in Bengali and such like. Again, that has been the strength of having Lupfin on site, to be able to provide that for us. Local, keep it as local as possible. Fresh local context, that's really very, very important. Trying to get as many different people. You find out people have got so many different skills. They all want to be, as helpful as possible. Sometimes they might be a bit too helpful and overcommit themselves. So we try to say, just don't give too much of your time, just a couple of hours, or, and you can always increase it and such like. And that works better. You sort of have them for a lot longer. And again, amend the menu daily. Who wants to eat the same old all the time? It gets stale. So you want to do something as new as possible, but don't constantly reinvent the wheel. And I think that's one of the problems, perhaps, is that when you're looking for funding, you've always got to come up with something that's new and innovative. We know what works, and we want to keep that strong and carry on doing that work. But you've always got to put a little slant on it as well. Doing things like evaluations, counting numbers, that's nobody's favourite part of the job, but that's hugely important for the powers that be. And to just say, look, this is the impact that we're making. I think it's also, that's one of the strengths of the third sector, the voluntary sector, is that we can highlight sort of the complex issues that people and other groups that might get left behind, the example, the women, the Bangladeshi women, the older women who don't feel they've got a strong enough voice. And we've got to be careful not to simplify the messages as well that we're sending out there. If we do that, I think we can run the risk of no longer representing those that we exist to support, and we can become too generic. So it's important to keep what works for you, what your selling point, if you like, the Coriander Club for us, the fact that we live in an area of such huge diversity, and it's always changing, always shifting, always moving. And it doesn't mean to say we have to move radically to keep up with that, but we do have to keep and bear all that in mind. But also that there's strength in diversifying as well, but we shouldn't risk spreading ourselves too thinly. So I think we've got to bear that in mind, and it's a constant juggling act. But when you hear the sort of stories and people saying that they see the farm as a safe place to come to, the most important thing for me, for the farm, for the Coriander Club, for everybody that walks in those gates, is that they feel welcome, they feel safe. A smile, a hello, and that's it, and they can just wander about, and then that's where the most wonderful ideas come from. If there's a people sitting sewing, for example, on a nice sunny day, or if they see people sitting, sharing our food, whoever happens to pop in, and a matter of minutes out of your day makes a huge difference to somebody, and they will come back, and they will think, well, can we run that at the farm there? Can we do that? The Coriander Club's huge success of that. 12 years ago it started, it's still going strong. It's been the topic of many, many research projects and student projects, as I say, on television. Lupfin's, her fame's phenomenal actually in the area. So yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but it's well worth it in the end.
Wow. Well, thank you, Mary, for that incredible presentation, for that recipe for success. I think the two words that I heard that really popped for me in your presentation were the words passion and sharing, a passion for food, a passion for community engagement, and for sharing food and for sharing good practice. Sharing and scaling good practice was a central theme in both of today's presentations. I want to thank you very much. I hope you've all learned as much as we have from these innovative, practical, community-based ideas. You know what we say, good ideas travel. You'll notice that there's a new poll on your screen. Let us know if you would adopt today's good ideas in your own city, in your own neighborhood. You can cast your vote on the poll anytime before the session ends. Please do participate. It's completely confidential and really helps us develop our programming. And we share that feedback with you. So we have now concluded the formal presentation part of our webinar. We're going to move on to our question and answer period. Please, everyone in the audience, continue to submit questions to the Q&A box while I ask the first question. So both projects, Coriander Club and Thorncliffe Park's Women's Committee work in the park, both projects are good examples of how shared space creates both a place for community engagement. It brings people together, but it also influences and shapes what you actually get done. One of the contributors to the Arrival City Book Club, Liza Fiora, a planner and architect in Tower Hamlets, calls this principle the use predicts use principle. So I'm interested in hearing from you about how community involvement has actually influenced your project outcomes. Like if you were going to look back, how close or how far have you come from your original idea or expectation? How has that community engagement shaped your work? And maybe we'll go back to you, Sabina.
Can you say that again, please? I wasn't able to hear.
Yeah. How has working with community influenced the actual project and what they've achieved? How has that ongoing work shaped the actual work that's on the ground today? Does it still look like what you thought it was going to look like when you started, or has it come some distance since then?
Oh yeah, I mean, we started with very little. I mean, just with a vision of making that park a better place of community engagement for the residents in Thorncliffe Park. Our vision was to make that place a better place. That we did, and to bring people out and to share a common space. And the programming that is today is like it has really come a long way. We have tremendously expanded that because we started with little, like I said in my presentation, like in 2008, we had the arts program in the park and the performances, like by the community artists in the park. We started with very little, but we engaged the children from the beginning because like over 26% of the population are the children between 0 to 14 in Thorncliffe Park. And there had been very few opportunities of recreation for the children when in 2008 when the Jenna John Murray Community Center was under renovation. So this was really, really important for us to engage the children during the summer when they had holidays. So this is how we started, and then we have expanded our programming. Now we have, I think, especially the Children's Community Garden and the Children's Garden Club, I think that's the asset for the neighborhood.
Okay, so Anuka, that's the children important constituency. Yeah. How about you, Mira? How has community involvement influenced your project outcomes over the years?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, it was community involvement that started the farm way back in the 60s when there was so much building work going on around about here that people wanted to, keep a bit of green space and turned it into allotments. So from just, small allotments and bringing some chickens and ducks and geese along, people really took it on board, started this up. And it's, as I say, again, it's something else that's just growing and growing and growing, and it continues to grow and it continues to change as well. Trying to meet all the different needs of the population changes that are happening as well. And to see the site get bigger, to see it being accommodating an awful lot more that we can offer to the residents and community of Tower Hamlets. So, yeah, I mean, it is... I think it's definitely achieved what it wanted to achieve. There's no two ways about that. But it's constantly moving. I mean,
evolving,
it really is, Yeah, definitely, and will always be like that. And I think it's time that when it stops doing that, that's when I think we need to worry about it.
Okay, very good. A central point of Doug Saunders' book, A Rival City, is that successful rival cities are always making room for the other. So my question on that point is, what have your projects done to ensure that your work continues to be inclusive, to make everyone welcome? And again, let's go back to Sabina on that question. What have you done to make sure that your work is truly inclusive, involves everyone?
Yeah, definitely. Our work is inclusive. We are open to everyone, and we are not focusing on specific community because though definitely Thorncliffe has the largest population of South Asians there, but we do have, like all our participants, they are even from Filipinos, a few are Canadians who have been born and brought up here. We also have the Chinese participants, Arabs. We are open to everyone. It's not just, focused to South Asian community, though it is the highest percentage. And these all the programming that we have developed this is the feedback that we got from the community, like what they had been looking for. Because during the markets, during all our programming, we do have a short questionnaire, and we are constantly in conversation with the visitors to the market or the people gathering around Tandoor Oven. We are constantly talking to them and taking the feedback for the programming and how they feel about the park and what they want to see the more changes in the park, bring about the things in the park, or the different, they are looking for different opportunities. So it's all, we are definitely involving, the community and the people living there, and it's all the feedback that they have provided. And these suggestions and all they provide the strategic directions for us.
Okay. I'm going to go to the public Q&A now because we've got lots of questions coming in. I have a question from Jane Hurley, and she asks, how has the Coriander Club and Thorncliffe Park's work led to the integration of immigrant women in the larger English or local community?
Well, I'll answer that one.
Sure, go ahead, Mira. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that they're much more visible, and they're actually engaged in an activity. They're doing something. They're creating something. They're also doing gardening or working with unusual vegetables that we perhaps have not seen before. So more inclined for people to stop and ask questions about what they're doing. They may not understand them, and that's where Lutzing comes in and can act as an interpreter. But that changes over the years as well as they become much more confident. So I think it's because they're so much more visible. Definitely, that makes a huge difference with everybody that comes into the farm. And even when they're not there, we've got signs up saying what we're doing here, so that engages people with that and think, oh, who's doing all this and how does this happen? And so it's, we're sort of self-promoting it as well in the same vein. But I think it doesn't make up for actually coming to the farm and seeing people all working together.
Yeah. How about you, Sabina?
Taking the example of Thorncliffe, which is the largest, I think one of the largest immigrant communities of the neighborhood, and in the beginning what we had seen is the people were so isolated, and the central space, which is the green space, which was really in a very bad condition, not taken care of, and it is really important for the newcomers or the people who have been living, anyone who is been living in the neighborhood, to interact, to know their neighbors, to greet them, to share information, and have fun together. So park, and we thought park would be the central place for everyone to feel safe, and when you are animating a deserted place, that makes and when people are moving around, it makes place more safer. Rather, when the park is so deserted. So we have around during the Friday markets, the park completely transforms where people, like around 500 to 700 people gather each Friday night to shop around, to come and, come with their families, friends. They invite their friends who are outside Thorncliffe Park or outside Toronto, and we have visitors coming from Hamilton, Brampton, Oshawa, visiting our park markets and enjoying bread from tandoor.
Oh, that's fantastic. I have a question here from Jocelyn. I think it's probably a question many of our listeners have, and that is what would be the best procedure to start something like this? Where do you start? Who do you recruit? Where do you begin developing your network? So if we could have sort of a short answer from you, Mira, on this one, and then we'll move to Sabina.
Oh gosh, do you really want to start something like this? No, seriously. Where do you start? Gosh, that's a really tough one actually, I suppose, when I think about it. To network, well, obviously your local council. See what's available, what's out there. Local voluntary organisations, other organisations that are there that can help. Here in London we have councils of voluntary service, so we link up with them, link up with volunteers. Find out if you've got any, neighbourhood planning meetings, community action groups. Just have a look and see what's out there already, because there's probably a lot that you can link in with that you don't have to maybe start something up. They might even have a space in which you can go and do something like that. Or it may well be that they're desperate for somebody to start it up and don't know where to look themselves. So I would have a look and see what's outside first within the sort of, the charity sector, how you could become involved with them. And, just sort of hold little meetings, have a little meeting in, a sort of community hall, put word out there, local radio, local newspapers, is there anybody interested in starting this? Just to get a little steering group started. But engage with your council first as well, too. Keep them on board, find out what's available and what spaces there are that you could rent or you could use.
And Sabina, what would be your most important recommendation for how to get started?
Start with a small and look for the place like the school. School would be a good place where, you can meet a lot of parents there and, share their ideas and listen to their ideas and start the conversation by sharing your idea and then listen to their ideas. And if they like it, then, meet at some place, like whether it's a park or it's a community center, and invite more and more people. And then what we had done was all word of mouth talking. And you can also visit the community centers where they have different programming running. You can just be a speaker there, go take their permission, and then talk about your idea and invite the people. I think the key is you have to be really welcoming and about sharing your idea and listening to others' ideas too.
Okay. I've got another question here from Nadia Halim, who's with Jane's Walk. She greets Sabina and Mary and says, how are initiatives like this one, where you've introduced to communities with similar projects in different parts of the world, how are similar projects useful to you? Have you taken inspiration from other people's works? It's good to know that you're not the only community working on things like this. So, Sabina, was this entirely homegrown, locally grown, or were you taking inspiration from elsewhere?
We have been taking inspiration from, people who have been involved in different parks, like Dufferin Grove Park has been our inspiration, and about the tandoor oven and all the activities they do around the fires, like cooking fires. And Dufferin Grove has the pizza oven, and that is how the idea emerged. Like, why not have the tandoor oven in the park that represents the South Asian community? Definitely, I mean, we visit different parks and we learn from them, and it's all about, sharing your ideas with other people and learning from them. And Dufferin Grove also is, very excited about the tandoor oven, and they are learning from Thorncliffe Park Women's Committee about how to operate the indoor oven and all. Yeah.
And how about you, Mary? Did you take inspiration from elsewhere?
I think more with it, certainly regarding the Coriander Club, it would have been that there was a gap in the market really at the time. There wasn't anything there. I mean, Luxon came along to the farm to find somewhere to grow and was interested in it, and just sort of, it grew from there. Because there wasn't anything else to go. And since then, we've actually, allotment spaces in London are at a premium. You can't really get any. There's big, long waiting lists. So to have a space like the farm available where you could, people began to realise that if you just come in and ask what can be done, it's pretty amazing. And once you see it in action, then they'll think, well, we can try and do that as well. And we want to try and, share our good practice out there as much as possible with everybody else too. I think definitely for us it was about, it wasn't in the area at all. And now it's, there's quite a lot going on. It's become much, much more popular over the years. I'm not saying it's down to us, but it's definitely, we filled that gap.
It's a great example of innovation following sort of local opportunity and need. It's a brilliant example, and it's fascinating that, of course, both your projects are now being studied by people around the world in cities around the world, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about how they influence similar work in other cities. I have time for one or two more questions. I've got one here from Jolene University in Amsterdam. She says, would you say that the Coriander Club increases or enhances a sense of community cohesion? And is the neighborhood experiencing change in terms of gentrification? And if so, are the so-called gentrifiers eager to get involved in the community farm? So has Coriander Club contributed to community cohesion or not? And what is the influence of gentrification, if any, on the work you're doing and the communities you're working with? Mary, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, it's definitely increased the sense of community cohesion. There's no two ways about that. And I think, as I was saying earlier, the very fact that it's visual, you can see people working, and it's a very sort of relaxed atmosphere and environment to come into and encourages debate and discussion. So, people think, oh, well, that's great. How can I get involved in this? With regards to the, the gentrification of the area, I think one thing that's happened is the biggest problem is that it pushes house prices up in the area. But apart from that, having the farm to come to is a place where everybody can come together, and we're all on an equal footing when we come in the gates. So, we get lots and lots of interest for that, and they're very, very eager to be involved in the farm. I also find that a lot of young professionals, for example, they really want to be buying local. They want to buy fresh produce wherever possible. As well as, the community that have been coming for years and years. So, yeah, I think an awful lot of people, it's a much hackneyed word, but find the farm quite inspirational. And I think it is because it's all visual.
How about you? Thank you. And Sabina, how about you? How has your work affected social cohesion, and is there a gentrification issue that you're having to address?
Definitely our all our programming is trying to bring people together, or and building a common space where people come and share and learn from each other. And our programming has always been intergenerational, and people love we have the seniors in the garden who are helping out the children and the youth to show them how you plant the seeds and how to harvest, things like that. So it definitely, I think it is removing the social isolation among the community, and it's building the cohesion. It definitely increases the community binding.
Okay. I'm going to take two more questions because it's just so interesting. And this one is a technical sort of question from Sue Kaiser, but it's important. Sue asks, you mentioned that you count some things to measure impact, the whole issue of evaluation. Can you tell us about some of the data that you collect? How do you measure impact and evaluate work like this? Mary?
Oh gosh, I mean, for example, we have, the basics way for collecting data. You would get people to sign in, you would, have forms to fill in and so on and so forth, and collecting that onto a database. I think that's okay for all the sort of quantitative stuff. The qualitative stuff's a bit more difficult. If we do particular projects, for example, a project round about putting on an event, we would look at the evaluation of that and the impact that it had on people. We would even just do small evaluations in the farm as well. Remember, people just coming in and thinking, what would you like to see at the farm, and so on and so forth, access to website, things like that. The qualitative one can be quite tricky as well. If you're working with people who've got very particular needs or they're quite vulnerable, you've got to be careful how you tell their story. And we've also had quite a few issues round about that, say with the Bengali ladies not wanting a lot of publicity. They don't want their picture taken, they don't mind, pictures of the back of them perhaps, but they don't want their names mentioned, or, so it's a very delicate one. But I think it's about, because of the farm, we can promote it through other ways of what we do here. Mm-hmm. And just by, encouraging more and more people to come into the farm and engage in sort of face-to-face conversation, as opposed to putting too much out there in the printed word initially, and then we can get other small projects run from it and try and roll it out.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, Sabina? You've had so much success in scaling up your project. How have you been measuring outcomes and evaluating your work, helping it propel it forward?
If we do have the data collected, like by end of each season, we do that, and during the programming, like especially with the Children's Garden Club, where we run this programming on every Tuesday during spring and summer months. We do record the number of participants and their ethnicity, so that we do have the track record of it, and seeing we are pretty much open to, we have the diverse participants and the number of visitors to the market as well, and how much tandoor bread we are making each Friday night. But right now I don't have any numbers, but yeah, definitely we collect the data to measure, the impact of all our programming, which has been really, really tremendous. The figures are really tremendous.
Yeah, no, they must be. It's wonderful to hear about the kind of programming you're developing and the new directions that both of your projects are taking you in. It's very exciting work. I think we're going to close on that note, but with one last question, this time from Jocelyn Green. I think it's the key question in some ways, and she asks, what would be the best motivation for refugees and new immigrants to get involved in the work you're doing? If you had to say to a newcomer in your community, this is something that you should get involved in, what would be the one reason why that you would tell that person? Sabina, what's the best reason for someone to get involved in your work?
I think, we will be definitely welcoming, and we will, that is one way of getting involved in the community and feel the sense of belonging to the new place, and understand. It will be an opportunity for them to gain information about and understand the system of the new place or the new home they have chosen.
Mm-hmm. So welcoming and knowledge. How about you, Mary? What would you say?
I think definitely, Sabina hit it on the head with sort of sense of belonging. That's what I would say, definitely. And also that it's a place that you can come to where there's no pressure, there's no expectations made on you. You can come and you can go at your own speed, your own pace, but you're just interacting with other people, and it's all very relaxed.
That's wonderful. Well, we're at the end of our Q&A. Our time has run out. I'd like to thank both our presenters for sharing this wonderful work with us today. We have a few unanswered questions that we will try to share with you in our next newsletter and online, so please look for that. For now, on behalf of all of our participants, the Center for City Ecology, and all of us here at the Global Diversity Exchange at Cities Migration, we want to thank Mary Weir from London and Sabina Ali from Toronto. We would like you all to imagine this excellent work being interpreted in your city, adapted by your organization, or maybe changing your neighborhood. We'd like to hear your stories from you, the audience, and share more good practices like these. So please do stay connected.